Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Germantown's live-streamed worship service. In community, we bring to each other our varied interests and talents. Today, we recognize those among us who have given in extraordinary ways to strengthen our church community. Inside this home, we grow spiritually, and from this home, our Unitarian Universalist principles find expression in the wider world. My name is Debbie Ward, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. All speaking participants in today's service are board members of the Unitarian Society of Germantown. These include Jen Leiby, our president. Also, Jessica Sliback, Nancy Anderson, John Davis, Sam Stormont, Andrea Barsovic, and Zachary Bosco Dwornik, as well as Maggie Beaumont. Our musical contributions are from Mark Doherty, Beverly Gross Spencer, and Robert Heffley. Our technical help is provided by Avery Hamill, Treva Berger, Melissa Guerrero, Carolyn Scott, and Celeste Lamb. Before we begin our service, I have a few announcements. Visitors and return guests, we are so glad to see you as well as regular members and friends. For more information about our congregation and programs, please email our welcoming team. You'll find that address in the chat section of this link. For those unfamiliar with chat, click the chat button. On many screens, it's at the bottom, but you may have to look for it. Throughout the service, valuable information as well as comments will appear there. Our annual membership meeting will be virtual this year, and it will occur immediately after the service at this same Zoom link. So there is no need to log out and back in again. Voting and raising questions are done in a certain way at a Zoom meeting. Instructions will appear on your screen before the meeting starts. Don't worry, we have people who will be right there to help you with any questions before and during the meeting. 62% of our congregation have now sent in their pledge statements for the church year of 2020-2021. We would love to hear from the remaining 38%. Every little bit helps. If you can fulfill your pledge for this current year, by June 30th, we will make up the budget deficit caused by COVID-19. Your support enables us to present many spiritual, service, and fellowship opportunities. Among them are children's programs. On Sunday, June 28th, we begin our Zoom Child Summer Sunday programs. We have many offerings for adults, including a special mindfulness program next Saturday morning, Zoomed from England and led by Suvako Hansen, a former monk, now psychotherapist, and mindfulness leader. To find out more about our mindfulness and yoga programs, look in the chat section for that link. We also offer ways for people of all ages to practice compassion and service. White people are invited to stand in solidarity with Black people in front of the church on Lincoln Drive any Monday through Friday from 5 to 6 p.m. We ask that you wear face masks and practice social distancing. You will be heartened by the number of honking horns as cars pass by. Next Wednesday morning between 9 and 11 a.m., please bring non-perishable food donations to the USG courtyard. David Ward will be there to receive them before making a delivery to St. Vincent's Food Cupboard. To learn more about our programs and news, please go to our website and you'll find that link in chat. We also ask you to please let our caring team or one of our 5 COVID-19 support teams know if you need help with health, socializing, food delivery, or finances. We are here for you. Contact the church office if you have any questions. Email and phone info are in the chat section. Now, finally, we turn our attention to the present moment and begin our spiritual service.
I'm Sam Stormont, and our call to worship this morning is by Rod Richards. We who gather here in this tender and anxious and confusing time, we have been awash in a sea of information and misinformation and disinformation, and this information that we seek is simply so that we may make decisions, wise decisions, about how we respond and learn how we hold one another when we can't hold one another, and decide how we can be when we can't be together. What is this we face? How best do we respond? And why is this happening? The why, the why, the why. And why do those who suffer so, suffer most, always suffer most from what we now face? Why? And what can we do for those who are most at risk, most vulnerable, all the time, and now again? And how do we respond, and how do we hold one another when we can't hold one another? And how do we stay together and stick together and worship together when we can't be together? Yet we are. Here we are. We are here together.
Our chalice lighting words are by Amy Carroll Webb. We light this flame for the art of sacred unknowing, humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time. We come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing we can ever know, that love is now and forever the only answer to everything and everyone in every moment.
This is Eileen Tatey. I'm a member of USG along with my husband Paul. Our girls Chloe, Raven, and Danessa attend CST classes, and I help volunteer there for the pre-K and kindergarten. And I'm here to talk with you about what the church means to me and why we like to donate to our church. We feel we've found a home with like-minded people, and our girls will hopefully form lifelong friendships with the other kids there. They really enjoy the classes. And we like knowing there's people that think like us, especially in these times and with social justice matters. We were sick with COVID-19 and the community came out pretty much nourished us back to health with all the delicious food they gave us. And had a birthday parade for Chloe, and that shows how caring our church really is. So I know times are tough now. So just give what you can, and we have to do the same thing now. I think a lot of us are in the same boat. So whatever you can do to help, I'm sure the church greatly appreciates it. Hopefully we'll see you again in person at some point. Take care. Thanks for your time.
Let's all take a deep breath now. And as we exhale, think about releasing tension we may have brought with us to this moment. There is much to be concerned about in our own lives, in the lives of others, and in the state of the world. And right now, we are here, and we are here together. In both solitude and in community, we acknowledge those moving through the pandemic with loneliness, anxiety, food or housing insecurity, loss of jobs, loss of childcare, concern over meeting the needs of growing children, and so much more. We are all learning to live as fully as possible with uncertainty. The killing of George Floyd has felt devastating, opened floodgates of anger, of pain, of grief. We struggle to find solace, to find our way, to find our voice, to feel hope. As we try our best with all that we face, we can pause and be aware of our breath. And we can hold each other in our hearts. A musical piece composed by Mark Miller was published in the last week in response to the murder of George Floyd. We will now hear Lament, sung by Beverly Gross Spencer. Following this, we will have a full minute of silence before singing Spirit of Life.
My heart is breaking, my fury shaking, my soul is tired, my breath is gone, how long, Lord, this evil season, unending pain and tears. My heart is breaking, my fury shaking, my soul is tired, my breath is gone. I cry, how long, Lord, this evil season, unending pain and tears. Use our anger to melt the swords of hate. Use our tears to water thirsty ground. Give us courage to love all you create. Come to us and turn the world around. Come to us and turn your world around. Use your anger to melt the swords of hate. Use our tears to water thirsty ground. Give us courage to love all you create. Come to us and turn the world around. Come to us and turn your world around. Our hearts are breaking, our fury shaking, our souls are tired, our breath is gone. We cry, how long, Lord, this evil season, unending pain and
Spirit of life, come to me, not me.
I'm Jessica Slivick. Please join me in today's responsive reading, which is entitled Hope Rises by John Burens and Rebecca Parker. I will begin and ask that you read the words in italics. Hope rises. It rises from the heart of life, here and now, beating with joy and sorrow. Hope longs. It longs for good to be affirmed, for justice and love to prevail, for suffering to be alleviated, and for life to flourish in peace. Hope remembers. It remembers the dreams of those who have gone before and reaches for connection with them across the boundary of death. Hope acts. It acts to bless, to protest, and to repair.
I'm Jen Leiby, and I have had the pleasure of serving as the president of the Unitarian Society of Germantown for the last 2 years. Our world is shaken to the core right now by 2 major events. We continue to exist in a complete or partial quarantine due to COVID-19, with far-reaching economic and psychological ramifications that affect every aspect of our lives, the lives of those we love, and so many more we don't even know in ways we cannot imagine. We are trying to live fully in a time of uncertainty. The murder of George Floyd at the knee of a Minneapolis police officer, assisted by 3 others who made no attempt to intervene, has become the tipping point of racial injustice in the hearts and minds of our country's citizens. So many have taken to the streets in protest, some in deep frustration and anger. In the last 2 weeks, people from all racial and socioeconomic backgrounds have spoken passionately and articulately about deep-seated prejudice, injustice, the impact of white supremacy, and the need to change the way we treat each other in America. As a nation and as individuals, we have serious, important work to do. It is a time of anger, frustration, sadness, and uncertainty, and also, perhaps, a time of hope. Today, we recognize those who have found in USG a spiritual community where they feel loved and supported, where they have found their interests and strengths, their gifts, to do the work of living out their Unitarian Universalist principles. They have been working to shore up our physical home and our spiritual home so that we can all discover and use our interests and strengths, our gifts, to turn our attention to a world that sorely needs what Unitarian Universalism has to offer. They may have said when the need became known, "Oh, I know how to do that," or "I don't know how to do that, but I'd like to learn," or "Oh, hell, I'll give it a try," or "I know I can't do this, but maybe I can do that." They have found that in community, they feel called to make our building strong or our grove more beautiful. They may feel called to organize or lead a group that is more effective at educating and moving us to action for social justice. Some are focused more on opportunities for individual spiritual development. Some are called to engage and teach our children, to be their village in this complicated world. Some are called to make our church more welcoming to our neighbors and help us to see beyond our walls to the larger community. Some lend their wise eyes to our budget and finances so that all this is possible. We are grateful to everyone we honor today for their gifts, for their shining light, for their commitment to building our beloved community with heartfelt and consistent effort. At the end of each award presentation, our tech crew will unmute everyone so we can applaud the recipient. Our first award today is the Hit the Ground Running Award, given to someone who joined the congregation within the last 5 years and plunged right into the life and work of our spiritual community, enriching it so much in such a short time. This award will be presented by Zachary Bosco Dwornik.
Lisa Dutton, my friend, has really hit the ground running during her 3 years of membership at the Unitarian Society of Germantown. She first heard of USG through the influence of her good friend Crystal Penn. Lisa attended her first service at USG in June of 2016. This happened to be right after the death of the iconic singer and performer Prince, as well as right after the horrific Pulse nightclub shooting. Lisa had not heard of Unitarianism until the influence of her friend. After reading about USG on our website, Lisa decided to visit, noting from the website that the church seemed to reflect her values. On her first visit, she was impressed to hear music from Prince being played at the service, as well as to hear relevant information related to the horrific Pulse nightclub shooting as part of the service. Lisa grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey. As a child, she attended both Presbyterian and Baptist churches. Her family was generally Christian aligned. While she visited many churches as an adult, none really stuck with her in the way that Unitarianism did. Lisa completed her undergraduate degree as well as her MBA at the University of Pennsylvania. She has worked primarily in healthcare management. She is presently on sabbatical from that work and possibly partial retirement. Lisa is a proud cancer survivor and has been involved in many activities in the local community to support others fighting cancer. Lisa pretty much takes things one day at a time. Skiing is one of Lisa's favorite hobbies, and she often travels to ski. I had the opportunity of catching up with her when we were both in Utah while she was there for a ski trip. Other hobbies include live entertainment, dining out, general exercise, yoga, and meditation. Lisa stated that she found it easy to get involved with activities at USG due to the friendly manner in which she was approached and people were not pushy or invasive. Her involvement includes serving on a welcome committee for about 2.5 years, with 1 year as chair, helping with the service auction, attending Blue portion of ending racism committee meetings, attending small group, and more. Lisa also attends special USG events, especially as it relates to social justice, such as book signings, Diwali celebration, and events pertaining to sanctuary families hosted at USG. We are so grateful for the talent and time that Lisa has invested in our church. It gives me great pleasure to present the Hit the Ground Running Award to Lisa Dutton. Congratulations.
Hey, Lisa.
Our next awards are congregational awards, given to members who, over the course of a few years, have given more than seemingly possible. This year, we have 3. Nancy Anderson will present the first 2, and Maggie Beaumont will present the third. Nancy?
All right. I am proud to present this congregational award to Shobi Canal. Shobi, Born in Rochester, New York, spent her early years first in the suburbs of Philadelphia and later in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. Both of Shobi's parents were academically oriented. Her father was from India and hoped Shobi would become an engineer. At Penn, Shobi, unsure of what career she wanted, majored in English. After graduating, she worked first as a copy editor and later on fundraising projects in nonprofit organizations. Shobi's experiences in social service organizations led her to realize she wanted to work in direct service roles, so she earned an MA in clinical social work. She has worked as a psychotherapist for over 20 years since earning that degree. Shobi's religious journey was affected by her lack of religious training early on. Her father had grown up Hindu. Her mother attended both Catholic and Methodist churches. Both left their religious affiliations behind. As a young person, Shobi felt quite an outsider, with all her friends connected with churches. For years, she had been thinking of exploring religious communities. Around 2012, she found USG through her longtime friend, Ann Bauer. The structure of the service itself spoke to her. The guidelines offered by the 8 principles, along with the lack of a creed, have been important to her. The acknowledgement of mystery caught her attention, as did the strong emphasis on social justice. The first thing Shobi volunteered for at USG was hospitality hour. A year in, Marietta Tanner approached her in the Grove and encouraged her to come to the ERC open house. That open house was the tipping point for Shobi. It was the first time she had heard racism being talked about so openly in a racially mixed group. It was after that that she joined USG. She likes the community, the services, small group ministry, working with Kent and the people of USG. She is delighted by how USG has navigated this pandemic. USG has been an anchor in her life. Shobi did not just become a member, she worked on the governance and ministry task force for some time, has become a small group ministry facilitator, and is serving on the committee of ministry and the nominating committee as well. Congratulations and many thanks, Shobi. I am honored to present this congregational award to Eric Foster. Born in a steel town in Western Pennsylvania, Eric grew up with his mother and father and 2 older sisters. His father worked in a bank. His mother worked for the state of Pennsylvania and at her own business. Eric says he was very unfocused, a generalist, at least through high school. But in college, he became more focused, earning BA and MA degrees in English. He worked in business for about 15 years. In his 40s, he discovered a love for numbers and returned to school for an MBA, also earning a PhD in psychology. He taught graduate statistics at Temple and marketing research and statistics at Wharton. He recently retired from self-employment as a survey and statistics consultant. Regarding his religious journey, Eric's mother was a devout Catholic. His father was nominally Protestant. Eric attended parochial school through grade 4, even learning Latin to be an altar boy. And although his experience in Catholic school was very good, he drifted away from religion by the time he was 15. After many years away from church, Eric was introduced to USG by Shobi, his wife of 28 years, and by their friend Ann Bowers. His first service here was shortly after the Sandy Hook incident in 2012, particularly memorable because his daughter was young at the time. UUism was an immediate match. He finds Sunday services and volunteering here to be important parts of his life. Eric now works on the Share the Plate, Welcoming, and Stewardship committees and on the ministry executive team. He has worked with worship arts and the security team and has taught OWL at middle and high school levels. He has mentored teens in COA and introduces newcomers to USG with UU 101. In addition, he has worked closely with Rudy Sprinkle in our church office and will soon become financial secretary. Congratulations, Eric, and thank you so much.
Yay, Eric.
Hey.
The final award is the Lifetime Achievement Award, given to a member who, for decades, has served USG in a multitude of ways, big and small, seen and unseen, and helped to make our church community what it is today. Presenting this award is Andrea Barsovic.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes? Okay. Should I start again from the beginning? Okay. It is my privilege to recognize this year's recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award, Rudy Sprinkle. From the time he joined the First Unitarian Church of Rochester, New York in 1984, Rudy Sprinkle has been committed to Unitarian Universalism. When Rudy and his family moved to Philadelphia in 1986, they joined the Unitarian Society of Germantown. The plan had been to make a tour of UU churches in the Philadelphia area and then make a choice. However, after attending one service at USG, the whole family decided they wanted to make USG their church home. Rudy quickly became involved with USG finances and volunteered as chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, ultimately serving as financial secretary. For the past 11 years, he is the person who has received and logged in all your donations to USG. He sent and explained your pledge statements, and he has been the go-to person for all your questions about donations. Over his 34 years in this church, Rudy also served as church treasurer, chaired the pledge campaign, was a member of the board twice, and served on the investment committee. Rudy has been active in Unitarian Universalism at the national level. He has attended numerous UU General Assemblies, often volunteering as a delegate for our congregation. He spent 4 years on the National Volunteer Committee for General Assembly, serving as chair of registration for the event. Rudy grew up in Muncie, Indiana, as a member of the Church of the Brethren, a traditional peace church like the Quakers and Mennonites. He attended Manchester College, a Brethren school, as did his mother, father, and 2 brothers. He was a conscientious objector during the Vietnam War. For his alternative service, Rudy worked for Clergy and Laity Concerned About Vietnam, a grassroots organization in Chicago that engaged in anti-war and pro-peace activities. In that capacity, he worked for Reverend Dick Fernandez, who later moved to Philadelphia and founded the Northwest Interfaith Movement in Mount Airy. During his time at Clergy and Laity Concerned, Rudy also worked with Reverend Don Wheat of Third Unitarian Church in Chicago, who incidentally was Reverend Kent Mathias's minister many years later. Rudy considers both Reverends Fernandez and Wheat as mentors who have shaped his ideals and values. As you may have guessed from his history, Rudy has always been an activist. He met his wife, Andrea, that would be me, at the November Moratorium in 1969, an anti-war march held in Washington, D.C. They were married a year later and had 2 children, Rob and Beth Sprinkle, and have remained married for the past 50 years. He lovingly refers to me as his first wife. Rudy's activism led him to USG, but music has firmly anchored him here. He has been a member of the choir throughout his time at USG. He is an accomplished pianist who has provided accompaniment for many summer services. In recent years, he joined the Philadelphia Chorus, a volunteer choral group under the direction of Raquel Garcia. Making music in both choral groups has brought him great joy. His 3 grandchildren, Aviv, age 16, Purple Ray, age 11, and Garnet, age 3, are also sources of great joy. Please join me in recognizing Rudy Sprinkle for his many contributions to our church community.
Okay, if I've successfully unmuted myself, let's see. This is one of my very favorite jobs as a board member. Jerry Whalen came to USG after leaving the Catholic Church in 2010, where he had been actively involved for a lifetime. His wife, Eileen, had left the church in about 2005, how do you say that? But Jerry felt he should try to stay until he just couldn't. He'd already been unhappy about the church's treatment of women and LGBT people. And then at one point he became a leader of prayer at Mass, which among other things required him to regularly recite the Nicene Creed. And he found that he didn't actually quite believe everything that was in it. Then after it became clear that the church had a pedophilia problem and was covering it up rather than dealing with it, he couldn't stay. He tried the Episcopal Church as being the most like Catholic services, but it just felt like Catholic light. While at St. Vincent's in Germantown, he'd been part of a whole community of socially conscious, active people. He hated to leave there, but he just couldn't stay. He visited Restoration, which was too dark, and then USG, where he found a similar vibe of socially conscious action. At first, he just attended Sunday services, sitting in the pews a while. And then he got invited to one meeting, just one meeting, of the Adult Spiritual Development Committee, and wound up chairing ASD for 6 years, which is so USG. He stepped down just this spring. He and Eileen served together on the Stewardship Committee and enjoyed the good people and found them fun to work with. He still continues to chair Exploring Elderhood and to be active in the congregation in other ways. spearheading the move to bring an automated electronic defibrillator to our building and offering the education to go with it. He was very excited about leading a series of difficult conversations on some tough topics in our congregation. And he also was on the board of Springboard Sangha in Mount Airy, with which USG has partnered in several programs. And he recently stepped down from that board after 5 years. Jerry spent his professional life in emergency medicine, mostly on the academic side, from the US Air Force to the county hospital in LA. After being forced into a mostly administrative job without the satisfactions of practicing medicine, but with all the challenges of tight budgets and limited resources in a situation of growing need, he got out of Dodge and took a job developing medical testing and certification processes, which brought him and Eileen to Philadelphia. He reminds us of the not necessarily true adage that those who can do and those who can't teach, and adds that those who can't teach evaluate. He points out that assessment drives curriculum. When those in charge begin to evaluate a new skill, someone will have to teach it. He helped develop the test of communication skills that is now part of the exam that all MDs take, using encounters with standardized patients. Jerry looks back on a lifetime of being in the right place at the right time. Coming out of high school, he wanted to go to West Point, but he didn't get in. So in college, he joined the ROTC. Then just 6 months into medical school, the Air Force offered a package. They would sponsor his entire medical education if he would give them 3 months of active duty for every month they sponsored. One summer in medical school, he was assigned to Cape Cod. Such tough duty. When he began internship in July of 1970, he had wanted to go into obstetrics. As a Catholic, he opted out of doing abortions, but he found he kept having to deal with the aftermath of botched abortions and was faced with many of the same moral issues, even in cases where it was too late to do anything but try to save the life of the mother. He spent 2 years as a flight surgeon at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, and then convinced the Air Force to send him to Los Angeles for a residency in a field they'd never even heard of, emergency medicine. 3 months out of residency, he was back east at Andrews Air Force Base outside of Washington, D.C., doing emergency medicine as the first department chair. In 1996, he became president of the American Board of Emergency Medicine, but more significantly, he came to Philadelphia and got in on the ground floor of medical licensure testing. Today, he has a regular meditation practice, and his typical Sunday mornings begin with Sangha and then USG. He feels that there isn't as much at USG that feels devotional as he would like, but meditation is a good supplement and makes a good combination for him. Lately, he's being drawn back to Christian teachings and is trying to integrate his Unitarian, Buddhist, and Christian spiritual practices. He hopes to continue providing music for occasional Sunday services at USG. Jerry, it has been an honor and a privilege to work with you over these years, and I'm delighted to present you with this congregational award.
We were all there. It was
Thank you.
I'm John Davis. Making an offering to the Sunday plate is one of the gifts we give to support our spiritual community. It is a way of saying, here I am, I'm with you. This is one of the things I have to offer so that right now we can move through our lives together, nurturing our spirits in the uncertainty of quarantine and supporting each other in the difficult challenge of ending systemic racism. Today's offering supports the work of this church. Please be as generous as you can. We would like to remind you that if you made a pledge for the fiscal year of 2019 and 2020, that year ends on June 30th. If you can fulfill your pledge, your commitment before then, we would be grateful. You can text donations to 215-608-2660. For example, 20 and a space and the word sun, S-U-N, sends $20 to the Sunday plate. 50 and a space, and the word pledge applies $50 to your annual pledge. You may also give online at usguu.org/give. You can also find instructions in the chat, and thank you very much.
Want life that everyone's dreams to see. Anyone make a difference. Everyone longs for something. Don't be afraid to put into action. Show your compassion. Change you want to see. Leave the world you want to be. Light in the dark, make it bright with your spark. Set the stage and lead the way. All around, world is strong. Storm and destruction, disease and pain. You can say, can't make a difference. All that leaves you is nothing to take. The sound of the movement ends with one voice. Every improvement makes noise. Be the change you want to see. Make the world you want to be. Cry and complain, still the answer's the same. Turn the page and be the change. Be the change. It's up to you. Make the world a brighter room. Calm in the storm, be gracious and warm. When you engage, you'll need let's arrange to be the change.
Never has it been more true than now. We extinguish this flame, but the sparks within us remain alight. From each of us in our supposed solitude, the signals buzz and hum, sparkling through space one to another, connecting us invisibly but palpably. We are one, and from every window our light shines. I will now extinguish the chalice to end our worship service. In approximately 5 minutes, we will begin our annual meeting. The Zoom site is the same, so stay right where you are. Blessings to you all in the coming week. And now with virtual smiles, handshakes, and hugs, please pass the peace to your neighbors.